It's midnight and you're tuned in to Nightline with me, Liyana Hassanel. These are the top stories. 217 polling centres to open on Saturday for Malacca state election. And committee to look into guidelines for former Prime Minister remuneration schedule. Good morning. Voters in Malacca will go to the polling stations on Saturday to choose their new state government, with the EC predicting a 70% turnout. Its chairman, Dato' Abdul Ghani Saleh, said the results for the state election will be known before midnight, with the earliest announcement time at around 10 p.m.
Dan ini tertakluk kepada kerjasama semua daripada semua petugas-petugas kita dan juga ejen-ejen calon di semua pusat pengundian. Jadi dengan adanya kerjasama yang baik, saya rasa insya-Allah keputusan dapat kita segerakan.
Dato' Abdul Ghani also said he was satisfied with the overall compliance of the Standard Operating Procedures (SOP) set for campaigning by candidates and political parties contesting in the election, although there were a few violations committed by some of them. For polling day, he advised voters to go cast their ballots at the proposed time stated on the MySPR SEMA application and not to wait until the very last minute. He also assured that strict SOPs have been put in place for election day to ensure it is safe for the people to go out and vote. Voters are also required to wear a face mask, have their temperature checked, practice physical distancing, and use hand sanitizer on polling day, while those with symptoms or body temperature exceeding the normal range will still be allowed to vote in a special tent monitored by health officials. Those who are patients under investigation, PUI, and persons under surveillance, PUS, who wish to vote would also be allowed with the approval of the district health officer. The election will involve 217 polling centres, 1,109 streams, and 12,290 election staff to ensure a smooth voting process for over 476,000 voters. And with just hours before the voting starts, Malacca Health Department Director Dr. Rusdi Abdul Rahman stressed that the COVID-19 situation in the state is under control, despite a slight upward trend on the infectivity rate, RT. He said the state is still seeing a declining trend in the average number of active cases, deaths, and rate of patients needing treatment at the intensive care unit, ICU. Dr. Rusdi, in a statement on Friday, said despite the increase in RT values from the previous week, which reflects the potential for the spread of COVID-19 to the community, the number of new COVID-19 cases in Malacca recorded a decrease of 7% from 1,400 in the previous week to 1,300 cases. The average active cases also decreased from 8.7% to 2,809 cases from November 7th to November 15th. The number of fatalities also declined from 6 to 4 cases, and the average cases needing treatment at the ICU, as well as patients intubated, have decreased to 11.8% and 14.3% respectively. In the meantime, police have issued a warning that stern action against any party for inciting extreme provocation that may cause public disorder and endanger safety during the Malacca state election on Saturday. Malacca Police Chief Dato' Abdul Majid Muhammad Ali said the state contingent police have assured that security will be under control and the situation will be safe for the public and voters during the election process. Dato' Abdul Majid said police have been mobilized in the state contingent, including the Bukit Aman Police Headquarters, to make preparations during the event if there is any threat to security and public order. He added police will also ensure the voting process set by the EC from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. will run smoothly and safely. He also advised the public in Malacca to accept the election results as they will reflect the voters' choice. Meanwhile, Malacca Deputy Police Chief Datuk Razali Abu Samah said the police are taking precautionary measures following the strict implementation of Standard Operating Procedure (SOPs).
Sebenarnya kita ketahui dalam proses pilihan raya pada kali ini kita mengekalkan dua perkara. Yang pertama sekali adalah menentukan ketenteraman awam itu dapat dipelihara selaras dengan undang-undang yang sedia ada telah diperuntukkan. Manakala yang keduanya naklah memelihara kesihatan awam. Kerana kita masih lagi di dalam COVID-19 ini.
BRN Melaka, medan ujian.
Di tangan rakyat, penentu undian.
Keputusan terkini kami janjikan.
Program khas Mandat Melaka nantikan.
Sabtu 20 November,
5.30 petang
hanya di TV3.
The Cabinet on Friday decided to establish a committee to look into guidelines under the former Prime Minister's remuneration schedule. This comes in the wake of Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak's application to the government for a plot of land for him to build a house in Kuala Lumpur by invoking a privilege accorded to former Prime Ministers, in accordance with the provision under the Members of Parliament Remuneration Act 1980 or Act 237. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, in a statement said the Cabinet had in principle agreed to grant Datuk Seri Najib's request on the ground of his right under the law. However, he stressed that this decision was not final and subject to further deliberation as well as final approval by the government. Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi also said the committee's role was to review the proposed guidelines for the fulfillment of the request, including rates, conditions, and maximum limits or quantum for the provision of land and residential houses under the former Prime Minister's remuneration schedule for future implementation. Earlier, opposition leaders said they will meet with Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob following the alleged 100 million ringgit allocation for a former Prime Minister, taken from the government's coffers. They stressed that application was ludicrous and the matter was not aligned with the Memorandum of Understanding signed between them and the government. On Thursday, Finance Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz, during his wind-up speech on the 2022 budget, confirmed an application was made by Datuk Seri Najib for property worth 100 million ringgit in the country's capital. The request made by the 6th Premier caused an uproar in Parliament, especially among members of Parliament from the opposition who demanded clarification from the minister. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Najib in a press conference on Friday said he has decided to reject the offer of a plot of land and house worth 100 million ringgit from the government, although the application was made based on his eligibility as a former Prime Minister.
Sebab dia beli 3 option, jadi saya pilih option tu lah. Sebab saya ada option. Tapi saya tak tahu tentang nilai sebenarnya tanah tu. Bukan kerja saya nak nilai tanah, kan? Kerja tu kerja pihak berkuasa lah, menentukan, lepas tu buat keputusan.
He said the decision was made after the matter caused some unease among the public, especially with the people facing hardship amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Datuk Seri Najib also suggested to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail to review the privileges accorded to former Prime Ministers under the Act. The government's commitment to assist micro, small and medium businesses, SMEs, continues with Phase 2 payment of the Prihatin Special Grant GKP under the Package Perlindungan Rakyat and Pemulihan Ekonomi or Pemulih Assistance Package. Payments amounting to 500 ringgit will be made from November 23rd and is expected to benefit more than 1 million eligible micro SMEs. The Prime Minister in a statement said the payment is an extension of the Phase 1 payment of 500 ringgit, which was made in September 2021. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob added that in total, each trader will receive a payment of 1,000 ringgit under GKP 4.0 to ease their financial burden due to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to him, the initiative will involve existing recipients of GKP 1.0, GKP 2.0, GKP 3.0, and new recipients of GKP 4.0, with a financial implication of 500 million ringgit. He said payment will be credited directly to the bank account registered in the GKP system. Recipients can check the approval status of GKP 4.0 from November 22nd through the GKP portal. In total, the total allocation that has been and will be channeled to more than 1 million micro SMEs under GKP since COVID-19 hit the country is 6.08 billion ringgit.
Lack of integrity in institutions impacting economic growth. Why do critical elements of trust and transparency matter? Enabling Malaysia to achieve its aspiration to be a corrupt-free nation. The fight against fraud, bribery and corruption. Malaysian Association of Certified Fraud Examiners President Datuk Sri Akbar Sata speaks with Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
The National Wage Consultative Council of MPGN is still discussing the proposal on whether to maintain or increase the minimum wage rate before being tabled for the Cabinet's consideration. Human Resource Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan said this after the National Wage Legislative Technical Committee JTPGN had presented the findings and recommendations of the Impact Study and Review of the Minimum Wage Order 2020 at the MPGN meeting held on Friday. Datuk Sri Saravanan in a statement said among the matters discussed at the meeting was the proposal from the employers to maintain the current minimum wage rate, while the employees recommended that the rate be increased. However, he said the MPGN has not made any decision at the meeting and further discussions would be held at the next meeting on December 9th. The study was carried out through public consultations and engagement sessions involving representatives of employers and employees, employers' organizations, trade unions, and the public. It is to obtain input on the impact of the implementation of the minimum wage on the country's socio-economy. Meanwhile, employees based in Malaysia are expected to see a real salary increase of 2.8% in 2022, up from a growth of 1.5% this year. According to the latest salary trends report by employee management data and software provider ECA International, Southeast Asian nations including Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam and Thailand would be among countries expected to see the fastest rate of salary increase next year versus 2021, as their economies recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and international travel resumes. According to the report, Indonesia and Malaysia were among the countries most impacted by the pandemic and are expected to see some of the biggest jumps in rates of salary growth in Asia-Pacific in 2022. The report said real salary increases for workers were predicted to average 1.9% across the Asia-Pacific region in 2022. Still to come, 163 individuals conferred FT awards. Welcome back. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah on Friday conferred the 2021 Federal Territory Awards, honours and medals on 163 individuals at Balai Rangsuri Istana Negara. Also present at the investiture ceremony, conducted with strict adherence to the SOP, were Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Hajah Aziza Amina Maimunah Iskandaria and Federal Territories Minister Datuk Sri Shahidan Kasim. Deputy Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Santara Kumar led the list of 9 recipients of the Darjah Sri Mahkota Wilayah SMW, which carries the title Datuk Sri. Other SMW recipients were Malaysian Administrative Modernisation and Management Planning Unit Mampu Director General Datuk Sri Dr. Yusuf Ismail, National Centre of Governance, Integrity and Anti-Corruption GIACC Director General Datuk Sri Muhammad Salehuddin Hassan, and Kuala Lumpur City Hall DBKL former Director General Datuk Sri Dr. Nurdin Abdul Razak. Meanwhile, Science, Technology and Innovation Deputy Minister Datuk Ahmad Amzad Hashim was among 38 recipients of the Panglima Mahkota Wilayah PMW Award, which carries the title of Datuk. Also conferred the PMW Award were former national badminton players Datuk Abdul Rashid Muhammad Sidek and Datuk Chia Sun Kit, as well as cultural arts activist Datuk Yusri Abdul Halim. In addition, 22 individuals were awarded the Johan Mahkota Wilayah JMW, 41 received the Ksatria Mahkota Wilayah KMW, 18 were awarded the Ahli Mahkota Wilayah AMW, and 35 received the Pangkuan Mahkota Wilayah PPW. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, with the collaboration and assistance of international enforcement agencies, has so far recovered 20.53 billion ringgit worth of assets linked to One Malaysia Development Berhad, 1MDB. The Anti-Graft Agency also informed that it is actively pursuing the recovery of 1MDB-linked assets domestically and internationally, including in the United States, United Arab Emirates, Taiwan and Singapore. In a statement on Friday, the MACC said the latest recovery was on November 12th, when the Singaporean Commercial Affairs Department returned over $864,000, or approximately 3.61 million ringgit, belonging to former SRC International Sdn Bhd Chief Executive Officer Nik Faisal Arif Kamil. The MACC also stated that the amount was credited to the Finance Ministry's Assets Recovery Trust account. The Singaporean government had previously assisted in retrieving $15.4 million, or about 64.42 million ringgit, that involved Cutting Edge Industries Limited Company, belonging to Datuk Taufik Aiman and Samuel Goh. The MACC also said at the same time it is also in the process of assisting other countries, such as Switzerland, Kuwait, Mauritius, Cyprus, Hong Kong, to recover assets that involved individuals linked to 1MDB. In Selangor, a soldier was charged in the Ampang's Magistrates Court on Friday with outraging the modesty of an 18-year-old girl at an outlet selling vape liquid. 27-year-old Zinette Lee Von Zim, however, pleaded not guilty after the charge was read to him before Magistrate Nur Maizan Rahim, who fixed January 12th next year for mention. He allegedly committed the offence by holding her right hand and sucking her finger at the premises in Taman Kramat on October 5th this year. Zinette Lee faces an imprisonment for up to 10 years, or fine or whipping, or any two of the punishments if found guilty. The court set bail at 4,000 ringgit with one surety, and also ordered the accused to report himself at the nearest police station once a month. Police have confirmed that both the driver and passenger of a Perodua Asia, which crashed into 7 vehicles that stopped at a red light in Kuala Ibai, Kuala Terengganu on Thursday, had tested positive for methamphetamine. District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Abdul Rahim Mat Din said the case is also being investigated for reckless and dangerous driving. In the 6:15 p.m. incident, it was believed that the Asia driver was driving under the influence of drugs when he was passing through the Kuala Ibai Bridge and failed to brake properly before he hit 7 vehicles and damaging them. Fortunately, no one was injured, and both suspects were later taken away by police to the district police headquarters for further investigation. In Kelantan, police arrested a 25-year-old unemployed man believed to be a drug dealer and seized about 1.5 kilograms of heroin worth 380,000 ringgit in a raid at Kampung Belimbing, Tanah Merah last Wednesday. District Police Chief Deputy Superintendent Zainuddin Mat Yusof said during the 6:30 p.m. operation, the suspect threw a package to the ground before trying to escape, but was arrested after a scuffle with police. The suspect, who was believed to be active in drug trafficking activities in the last 3 months, then led authorities to 2 other locations where the rest of the drugs were seized. The suspect had been remanded for 7 days until November 24th to facilitate investigation under the Dangerous Drugs Act. Malaysia-Singapore vaccinated travel lane to start with 6 daily flights. Details when we return. There will be 6 daily flights between Changi Airport in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia under the Vaccinated Travel Lane VTL scheme that kicks off on November 29th. Announcing this on Thursday, the Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore, CAAS, said in a press release that the flights will be operated by 6 airlines, and applications for the vaccinated travel pass for travellers from Malaysia will begin next Monday at 10 a.m. CAAS said that the conditions for entry into Singapore under the travel scheme with Malaysia are the same as what it has with other countries. This means travellers coming from countries under the scheme may enter Singapore without quarantine and only need to undergo COVID-19 testing. Children aged 12 years and below who are not vaccinated will be allowed to travel under the scheme into Singapore if they are accompanied by a traveller. Austria will reimpose a full COVID-19 lockdown to tackle a new wave of infections, making it the first country in the EU to take such stringent measures. In announcing the matter, Chancellor Alexander Schallenberg said the Alpine nation also plans to make COVID-19 vaccinations mandatory from February 1st next year. Speaking at a press conference, Schallenberg added that despite months of persuasion, the government has not succeeded in convincing enough people to get vaccinated and blamed those refusing to be vaccinated for an attack on the health system. He said the full lockdown will start from Monday and will be evaluated after 10 days. This means people are no longer allowed to leave their houses, with few exceptions such as shopping for essentials and exercising. Supporters of Hamas could face up to 14 years in prison if the British government succeeds in banning the group as a terrorist organisation. UK Home Secretary Priti Patel will push for the change in Parliament next week, arguing that it was not possible to distinguish between Hamas's political and military wing. The Home Secretary said the organisation will be proscribed by the government under the Terrorism Act. It means anyone who expresses support for Hamas, flies their flag or arranges meetings for the organization will be in breach of the law. Patel, who is on a trip to Washington, said the move was based upon a wide range of intelligence, information, and also links to terrorism. Hamas has already been designated an outlawed terrorist organization by the US, Canada, and the EU, meaning that its assets can be seized and its members jailed. Coming up right after this short break, Pang Shuai's sexual harassment allegation. WTA ready to take stern action. Stay with us. The head of the Women's Tennis Association, WTA, Steve Simon, has said he is willing to lose hundreds of millions of dollars worth of business in China if tennis player Pang Shui is not fully accounted for and her allegations are not properly investigated. Simon said the WTA had been in conversation with counterparts at the Chinese Tennis Association, who had provided assurances Pang was unharmed in Beijing. However, attempts to reach Pang directly had proved unsuccessful. Simon, in a statement, said the WTA is willing to pull its business and deal with all the complications that come with it, as Pang's allegation was bigger than the business. When asked about an email purportedly sent to him from Pang, Simon questioned its veracity, describing it as a staged statement of some type, noting he had yet to receive a follow-up reply despite responding immediately. Pang, who is one of China's most recognizable sports stars, has not been seen in public since she accused former Vice Premier Zhang Gaoli of coercing her into sex at his home, according to screenshots of a since-deleted social media post dated November 2nd. Her post on Weibo, China's Twitter-like platform, was deleted within 30 minutes of publication, with Chinese censors moving swiftly to wipe out any mention of the accusation online. Her Weibo account, which has more than 500,000 followers, is still blocked from searches on the platform. In the meantime, tennis players attending a WTA tournament in Uruguay on Thursday spoke up to demand real proof that Pang is fine.
We are really sad about it, and we can't wait to hear some news from her that she's okay, and because what is happening is not normal, and I'm really sad about it. I don't know what to say. We had this talk in the morning for half an hour. We were talking about this, and I really hope she's okay, and really I'm waiting for some news from her.
Still on tennis, the Nitto ATP Finals. World number 2 Daniil Medvedev was forced to save 2 match points against informed Italian Jannik Sinner to head into the semi-finals with a 3-love record in his red group round robin matches. Medvedev proved to be at his best as he secured a 6-love, 6-7, 7-6 victory over Sinner. The Russian had already qualified last Tuesday after beating German Alexander Zverev. The reigning ATP Finals champion has won 8 consecutive matches in the year-ending tournament since lifting the trophy last year in London when he beat Dominic Thiem. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look at stargazers marveled at the night sky in the early hours of November 19th, as the longest partial lunar eclipse in hundreds of years began. With that, I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.